Over 600 delegates from WIPO's 186 member states began work today on finalizing a new international treaty that would ease access to books for the world's more than 300 million blind, visually impaired, and print-disabled people, more than 90% of whom live in the developing world.
During college, my studies were anthropology and religious studies, and one of my focuses was also Russian, given that that was my first language. I wanted to access literature that came from Russia, and found it extremely difficult to actually get anything translated into English or vice versa so that I could access the literature as equally and as efficiently as my peers.
My parents read a lot of Hmong stories to me, and I've always wanted to be able to read the Hmong folk tales, but I never had a book, so a lot of my culture has been lost. They have books that talk about, like, our beliefs and our religion and how weddings work within our culture, and a lot of it, I feel, as a young Asian American, I lost a lot of my culture.
The Books Without Borders Treaty is particularly important to me because I happen to be blind, and I'm currently working as an assistant professor of English. I teach post-colonial literature and human rights, and eventually I'm planning to make a career shift into working in the human rights field. And for me, because post-colonial literature is so much related to the countries, in my case, I study the countries that England colonized, it's really, really important for me to be able to read those texts from other countries like India, Africa, the Caribbean, the South Pacific, particularly the ones that are being written by people from those places in English, and then bring them back to my students.
WIPO Diplomatic Conference for Visually Impaired Persons, hosted by the Kingdom of Morocco, is meeting in Marrakesh from June 17 to 28, 2013. A signed treaty would culminate years of discussions on bringing access to more published works to the blind, visually impaired, and print disabled. This means better access to novels, textbooks, and other material for education and enjoyment in formats such as Braille, large print, and audiobooks, which now make up less than 5% of published works. Fewer than 60 countries have special provisions for visually impaired persons in their copyright laws, such as those that allow the production of Braille, large print, or digitized audio versions of copyrighted material. Furthermore, because copyright law is territorial, these exemptions usually do not cover the import or the export of works converted into accessible formats, even between countries with similar rules. In a message to the conference read by Morocco's Minister of Communications, His Majesty King Mohammed VI of the Kingdom of Morocco said the time is ripe for a treaty.
At the Colorado Center for the Blind, we work with hundreds of international students. Our international students especially need to have access to books from all over the world. Without this access, they are impeded in their learning ability. They're not able to easily handle university classes. They're not able to read to their families, to children, to others.
I am from Ethiopia, and I do live now in America. The accessibility of books in Ethiopia is very, very difficult. When I was in university, at law school, it was hard for me to get books because most of the books are imported from America, and they are in print. They are not accessible books for me. To get accessible books, it's not allowed, or it's not permitted to get accessible books.
We adopted Susie from China 1 year ago, and she has been blind since she was born. When she was in China, she read Mandarin Braille, and when she came to the United States, she had to learn the English language as well as English Braille, and that's been very difficult for her, but she has done wonderfully. But we've really struggled in finding Mandarin Braille books for her to read. In fact, there's only 3 books in the entire United States.
I think it is important I have a Mandarin Braille book because, like, first I can hear I will just and doesn't know very much English and I feel like nothing to do. And I was hope if I have some Braille books in Mandarin and I can read.
Growing up as a blind child in Nepal, reading became a fantasy. In fact, I never had an opportunity to hold a book and read on my own because no books were available in any possible alternative formats.
It's more critical now than ever in the global world when a student in college, for example, is expected to be a global citizen. And certainly in the business world, professional areas, we're expected to have global access to information. That's why the Marrakesh Treaty is so critical.
Now I ask all delegations that we adopt this treaty text. It is adopted.
The gavel came down today on June 27, 2013, ending over 4 years of intense negotiations on an international treaty that promises to boost access to published works by the world's blind, visually impaired, and print-disabled. The historic agreement was met with a standing ovation from the over 600 delegates that gathered in Marrakesh at the invitation of the Kingdom of the Government of Morocco to finalize these historic negotiations.
Today, my heart is at peace, and my faith in humanity has been renewed. When we came to the General Assembly in 2010, I challenged you to put your hearts and minds together and conclude a treaty for the world's blind. Well, I would write a not-so-good song about it. Thank goodness you got it right. Instead, tonight, I'm going to sing a song. We're going to sing a song of celebration together tonight.
This treaty is a breakthrough in our history, and I think it will make a difference for everything that has.
And it's very satisfactory to see after several years, more than 5 years of negotiation, to see that we finally have a treaty that will serve the people. Definitely, we got a good consensus that balances the rights of those right holders, the authors, the creatives, and the visually impaired people that are in serious need or craving for books and for materials.
Creates the opportunity for truly addressing the book famine.
This is going to make a big difference. And this is the first time ever in international history that an international agreement has concentrated on the needs of blind people. And this is a tremendous victory for us. Not only symbolically, but in a practical, real sense. This will make a difference.
To make a donation to the National Federation of the Blind of Colorado, visit our website at www.nfbco.org.